right, so let's just jump right into it. Tyler, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Hey, appreciate it, man.
This is the Beers with Bud. I guess we're going to take it that way. You have a temporary studio set up here in your garage, which is / weight room.
Yeah.
So you want to go ahead and talk to me about what you got going on here?
Yeah. Well, like recently, used to go to a commercial gym all the time. But up to like a month or two ago, it just, all the people that are coming in with the new year, having the goals to get into the gym, get in shape, get stronger, and overall better themselves. It's just kind of insane. Those people finally wore off and quit going because they can't stick to anything they set forth out to do. So recently there's been an influx of younger kids that are going to the gym, and they come in waves. I'm telling you, waves, 3 to 4 to a group, hogging machines, standing in your way of like free weights, barbell weights, crowding benches, and all that. So just kind of, I'm over that, and just can't really focus being on around those people of getting a good solid workout because it just irritates you when you're just trying to get a good lift in. So the buy once, cry once method, went and got a bunch of weights, got a rack behind me to my right. You can't really see, but it's another kind of like free weight squat machine that's home built by a really renowned lifter coach here in Colorado as well. Trying to build up this garage gym just so that it makes it harder to not be able to get a workout in, prioritize fitness, work on my strength and all that stuff. So basically, it's my garage, but it's gonna be open to my buddies that I'm really close with because we're all very like-minded when it comes to being in shape, functional fitness, working on our explosiveness and all that stuff, and be open door to those people. That's about it.
That's cool, man. The public gym thing is a double-edged sword, right? Because you've got all this equipment that's badass, right?
Yeah.
All the equipment you could ever imagine. But just because they have it there at the facility doesn't mean that it's readily available to use, because you have people that are hogging it.
Yeah.
Or you got guys, groups of young kids like you're talking about. I've seen it myself.
Yeah.
They sit there and they're working out in a group, but they're not actually interacting with each other, and they're not doing a lot of working out. Almost all of them are on their phones.
Yeah. Recording themselves. Like, I get it. Like, it's the fad. You got TikTok and all that stuff. You got Instagram. That are platforms that kind of promote that stuff for this younger generation.
Yeah.
I get the mindset behind it. It's just something that I don't support. Going to a gym, being and working to better yourself. It's not just a mindset, but it's a lifestyle too. So like, that's that person's 1 hour, 2 hours out of the day to go to like their sanctuary, more or less, to focus, to decompress, and battle themselves in the gym because you can't beat yourself.
Right. And that's the unfortunate thing is that, like you said, the beginning of the year type of thing where all these people have general, New Year's resolutions to getting healthier.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to support that, right? Everyone wants everyone to better themselves regardless.
Absolutely.
But there is so many people that don't do it, right? They're like, I'm gonna hit it hard. And they do it for a month and they're done.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And that sucks because you want people to succeed. You want people that are out of shape being at a gym.
Yeah.
There's
absolutely
a lot of people that have been in a gym for a long time always ensure that they're motivating people that are out of shape to be working out, and they disparage people that try to that make fun of people that are in the gym.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you don't want to be a jerk, and if there's an overweight person on the treadmill at a gym and people are making fun of them because they're out of shape and fat.
Yeah.
And people that truly want people to succeed look at that person and say, well, they're here in the gym and they are trying they're doing what they believe to be the best, is to try to better themselves and get fit.
Definitely.
And I think that's kind of a glass half full thing, right? That's an optimist, and it's not right for people to put down people for trying to better themselves.
Right.
That's another thing with the public gym. if it were up to me and I had my way, I would love to have my own private gym because exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Go get a quick workout in. You don't got to drive anywhere.
No.
You can literally walk into your own space and just start hitting it, and then go right back into your bedroom or your living room and eat a big meal or have a big shake to post workout.
It's funny you say that because last night was like my inaugural lift inside my garage with my equipment. And it was really cool just going through my garage door into my house and then, just chill. Like, I don't have to get in my vehicle. I don't have to drive. Go pound, my after workout type meal, my drink and all that stuff. And, and press. Like, it's awesome. Like, it saves me time getting ready, warming up my truck for 10, 15 minutes in the morning when it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. I can just come out here, turn on my heaters, and then get after it.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. I really think that
it's nice.
I think that if a lot of people had that option, they'd probably work out a lot more anyway, right?
Oh yeah.
Especially out of shape people. They don't have to worry about going to a public gym and getting criticized by jerks that are doing that.
Yep.
They're in the private sanctity of their own domicile, and they're just like, well, I got a treadmill over here in my garage and some some free weights. I'm gonna go for a nice jog and see if I can start shedding weight. You really have no excuses to not work out at that point.
No. So you're absolutely right.
That's cool. I really think that it would be, if everyone else had more of that option of being able to have their own gym, I think a lot more people would be into fitness. And I think in general, people should be more into fitness, right? Because it seems like the mentality overall of the population nowadays is they want to medicate things and try to remedy things through, quick, easy fixes or quick, easy shortcuts to get to an end goal rather than putting in hard work, exercising, dieting properly. They're sickly people, but mostly because their lifestyle is terrible. They're stagnant. They don't do a lot of physical activity. They sit at home. They watch YouTube and play video games all day. They get overweight, and then they're sick all the time.
Yeah.
Or they have health issues. They've got, all of a sudden they're autoimmune, and then all of a sudden they have heart disease. And it's like, well, maybe if in general, the American philosophy was to be more fit, you don't have to medicate.
No.
You can work it out. Literally work it out.
You're absolutely right. Like many people, everybody has some type of, bloodline in their family where there was some type of disease or issue with their health, whether it be, bad hearts type stuff, bad liver, stuff like that carries on for generations. And a lot of it can be, cured by not just going to the gym, but proper dieting. You could sit there and you could count your macros and micros for calories and eat McDonald's every single day and get the same results of somebody that's eating chicken and rice every single day. But if you do it sparingly and you track it and you're careful with what you're putting in your body to understand that you're fueling your body, you're not, just destroying your body. There's ways to look at it, right? Like me and you, we just had McDonald's before this. That's fine and all. But I understand that today was my rest day. I want high carbs, high calories, high protein. Yeah, there's a lot of sodium within what we just ate, but my water intake every day is at least a minimum at a gallon.
Yeah.
Flushing those bad toxins, those bad calories out of my body and stuff like that. The supplements of which I take supplement my diet and all that stuff. So understanding what I'm eating today fuels me for tomorrow. Yeah, it's like the mindset that I have.
Oh, for sure. And a lot of people can Monday morning quarterback other people's workout regimens too, right? I probably have the thing that I think that would make you more chiseled, more cut up, right? More lean and defined. And you probably like, well, I know that. I don't have, that's not my goal right now, or I don't have the motivation to do that right now. I'd rather be focusing on bulking.
Yeah.
So a lot of goals that people have, they're in their own way, or they don't even realize it. And so, for me, it's hard for me to put on weight for my body type. It's very hard.
Yeah.
But I know what I need to do it. It's just, it's hard to put that into practice, right?
Right.
It takes a lot of work, a lot of commitment. And, there's no excuses as to why I can't do it. It's just the fact that I'm not doing it.
No, absolutely. That's the truth. Like, your body type, you're probably 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah.
And, you're very lanky, you got long legs, long arms, but your metabolism is of somebody that's like 17 years old. It's insane. You're 30, right?
31.
31 years old, and your metabolism is insane. So like your protein intake could have to be double mine, carb intake could be double mine in order to retain those calories, those proteins,
and
stuff like that.
My caloric maintaining intake is pretty high as it is, right? Just to maintain, but then to actually build on and to gain is astronomical.
Yeah, it's nuts, and people don't think of that because people think that just it's kind of like a pseudo, like just going to the gym is going to make you slender. Going to the gym is just going to make you stronger. No. I look at it like a 70-30, like 70% of it is your diet and what you put into your body and how you rest, your work rest cycles, and then 30% of it is going to the gym and grinding for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours at a time.
Yeah, and there's people that do that. There's people that go to the gym for an hour and a half, 2 hours, but if you're not lifting correctly, you're not lifting properly, it doesn't matter anyway. No. You're just wasting time.
Absolutely.
And I've seen people like that throughout my life that I've through work and other experiences. There's people that go to the gym regularly and they have no physical improvement at all.
Yeah.
And they a lot of people are like, well, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm not sure what it is. And if they just had the ability to self-reflect and be like, well, I'm going to the gym every day, but I'm not pushing myself to get any better as far as lifting heavier weights. I'm doing the same exercises constantly. I'm not really actually working out. I'm putting in a couple reps that are terrible form and aren't full reps. And so therefore you're not actually getting any kind of anabolic transfer to your muscles. And so you get this combination of these people that go to the gym regularly, but have no improvement.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Seen that.
No, I look at fitness like it's a triangle, right? You got one side that's going to the gym, one side that's your diet, and then one side that's your rest.
Oh yeah, rest is big time.
If you're going to be a power lifter, you're going to work out for 4 to 5 days out of the week. You're pulling for weight and all that stuff, but your rest cycles, you're taking 2 to 3 days off throughout that week so your body can properly, recuperate.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But people that bodybuild might be going 6 days a week, twice a day. It's nuts. But their calorie intake, could be
5,000,
4 to 5,000.
Yeah.
The same for a power lifter, but their calorie intake is different because they have a different carb intake supporting those calories. It's huge. We could spend 3 hours on this conversation.
Dude, yeah, it's scientific, really. I mean,
it is.
I think a lot of people see guys that are like built up and cut up, and they're like, oh man, this guy spends a lot of time in the gym. But what they don't understand is the hard work that goes into what they put in their body to make themselves look like that. And it's so specific to each individual too, that you can just get guidelines from everywhere. You can do research and get general information.
Yeah.
But sometimes that stuff's not going to apply to you, and you have to figure out through a scientific method, basically, right, of like trial and error to figure out what it is going to work.
Yeah. I mean, I come from a background of wrestling and cutting weight for about 6 years, from junior high all the way through high school. And to me, it's not really cutting weight, but it's dieting for that entire 6 years. Yeah, it benefited me. Yeah, it helped my, progression. But like, I do not want to put my body through that strenuous of a deficit ever again. So like, I have family I have a family member that is a bodybuilder, and aesthetically he's just insane. You see all his muscle fiber, like it's I'm not gonna call it gross because it's an art.
Yeah.
To me, it's an art, and I give him mad props and dedication to it. But that level of dedication is just something I do not have.
Yeah.
To put my body back through something similar to that again, I just won't do it. It's just not my thing. To me, I'd rather be able to pull some crazy weight, to bench some crazy weight, squat some crazy weight.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of also what you're comfortable with and what makes you actually happy with it, right?
Yeah.
You can say, well, you want to look like a Greek god and you see the muscle fibers and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you realize what it takes to do that, and you're like, well, that's not worth it to me.
No.
You're weighing pros and cons with that, and you're like, I probably could get there if I really dedicated and made it a lifestyle.
No, I could, yeah.
Yeah, but you're like, well, what's the trade-offs with this? It's not worth it to me. I'd rather just be, I want to look good, skinny waist, broad shoulders, not necessarily be chiseled up, but strong and healthy.
Yeah, like with being able to push, move some weight around, you're gonna eventually get your aesthetics that you want. You want your broad shoulders, your ball looking shoulders. You want your big back.
Yeah.
You may not have the skinniest waist, but you're gonna have your big thighs, your big calves,
Big thighs.
your bigger forearms, and stuff like that. And all that comes with that style of training. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Like I don't got nothing to prove to anyone but myself.
Yeah.
I'm only doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for anybody, because I just want to, better myself. So,
Absolutely.
But I think that kind of carries the conversation into our line of work. Like being able to, run, sprint, jump, run up flights of stairs, being able to pull a dead weight if we had to, and stuff like that.
Yeah, but even free time activities that like hunting, right?
Yeah.
You and I are both archery hunters, and a lot of people know. General population knows probably a somewhat amount about bow hunting in general,
Right.
but I think a lot of people don't understand that you have to be pretty physically fit to be able to get to access where there's animals, right?
Yeah, because they're not right off the trail.
Right, and there's people that say, well, you know what, 200 meters is not that far. But if you're trying to go 200 meters off a trail in the middle of the wilderness up a mountain, it seems like an eternity.
Yeah, it's a 30-minute,
Yeah.
crawl is what it feels like, because you're going up incline, you're going over trees that are as tall as you that are laid down on its side.
Oh, yeah.
Rocks, we call it bushwhacking, going through bushes, swamp, and stuff like that. And if you're just some couch sitter that just watches YouTube and wants to go try backcountry elk hunting in Colorado, you're not going to survive. I mean, you'll survive, but like
You won't make it far.
you're going to get about 200 mile or 200 meters off trail, and you're gonna be like, you know what, this ain't for me.
Yeah, I got to go back.
Yeah. But no, absolutely. Like, my mindset for a long time when I first became a resident of Colorado and wanting to hunt is every year that I'm working out throughout the year, I'm prepping myself for hunting season and stuff like that. And, working on my cardio, working on the weight that I can carry, the weight that I can push, because you got to prep yourself for anything that could happen back there.
Oh, yeah, and that's functional fitness, right?
Yeah.
It's purposeful. It has its place, and it's helping you. It's giving you a larger tool bag to go and say, hey, if I'm fit enough, I can get to where I need to get and get out a big, heavy animal on the way out as well.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it from the mindset, from an emergency mindset, like,
Oh, you break a foot.
you break a foot, your buddy goes down, and all of a sudden you need to beat feet off trail or to carry them down a mountain to somewhere where they can be recovered. It's all that plays into a factor, and those are risks of what you're willing to take when you step out of your vehicle there. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, all right, it's like kind of getting ready to play a football game or going to a wrestling match. Like, you get in that mode, like, okay, it's go time, and you're looking out for your buddy, and you're looking out for yourself.
Yeah, I would never recommend anybody go bow hunting alone.
No, I had the mindset for a while. I'm like, you know what, I'll do it. Hey, there's other people that do it all the time. Like, why can't I? But I've done scouting, a 48-hour scout by myself, did 35 miles and 28 miles in one day, about 50 pounds, and it was intimidating. It was scary. I got to the point where I was hallucinating towards the end. I got emotional when I got to my vehicle because, before I got to my vehicle, I came up to a horse camp.
You hear that?
Oh, that's my neighbor's car. I think it's a hot vehicle because every time they open it up, the alarm goes off.
Cool.
But it's this, I forgot where I was at.
Scouting trip.
Oh yeah. But got to my vehicle, and prior to getting to my vehicle, I came up on a horse camp that was about a mile from my vehicle where the gravel road began. And I couldn't talk because I had no saliva in my mouth. I was dry, not dry heaving, but I was just so dehydrated, and stuff like that. Because you always hear the stories of the people that they find dead in deserts is that they always have some type of water left that they're carrying. And I'm like, I'm going to be found with no water because it's going to be in my body. doing his thing. But it's nuts, it was insane. Like in that day, I burned about 15,000 calories according to my Garmin. But it's nuts because you can't train for that unless you go do like a Spartan race or something like that.
But that goes back to the functional fitness, right?
Yeah, it's a mindset, like to keep grinding. Could I have stayed another day out there? Yeah, I could have, but I had to go to work the next day. So like, I was in no cell service, and stuff like that. I had food. I had access to drinkable water because it was high alpine streams. But like, it's like, okay, now you're Bear Grylls and you got to find a way to survive or
drink your own pee.
Yeah. Or you're going to have to tough it up mentally and physically and get back to your vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's nuts. It's like okay, let's shit or get off the pot,
Yeah. I mean, I think bow hunting is, a lot of people are drawn to it, because it's kind of primal, right?
Yeah.
It's really like
thousands of years.
Yeah. It's instinctual, like human DNA ingrained type thing where, a lot of people of every facet of life could get behind a rifle and be able to put down an animal.
Yeah.
Right. A lot more circumstances than a bow. So a lot of people are drawn to that almost adrenaline rush of being able to like, hey, hike miles and miles in backcountry, get within, almost touching distance of an animal and being able to use your kinetic energy of your human body to be able to then put an animal down and put it in your freezer and harvest meat.
Yeah.
I think that's a feeling that a lot of people strive for, right?
Yeah. It's
chasing a high almost.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And the thing is, sometimes it takes individuals 10 to 12, 15 years to accomplish that. Like me and you have both had a fortunate enough experience to be able to hunt on private land, stuff like that for big game here in Colorado. But this past year we went, we were about 4.5 miles off trail, like bushwhacked, not off of it. Like we beelined off of a trail, and on the last day or the evening before the last day, we, end up bumping 3 cows of what we believe were cows at final shooting light. Had the opportunity to damn near draw back on them, but there was just, if we had about 20 minutes left of daylight, we probably could have seen them better through our sights, maybe got off of a shot. But it's nuts, because the year before that, I got within like 190 yards. The year before that, I was about 600 yards. So it's just been progressively getting better and stuff like that, because you learn something new every year. The terrain of which you're hunting, understand what part of, archery season that you're going out, which is September. Yeah. Typically early September. Normally it's pretty warm. It's still about 75, 80 degrees.
Well, and sometimes the rut won't kick off either whole time.
Yeah, so the entire time. Sometimes it won't start off until November.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Like this year, the rut was really late.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like it's a gambling game. You can try to, prep as much as you can, do as much homework as you can, pin as many waypoints on your app as you can. But sometimes none of that matters.
Well, and that then goes back to the challenge of bow hunting in general, right? Yeah. You can prep all you want. You can do everything you can do possibly to set yourself up for success by doing due diligence, scouting, pinning. But if the rut's not kicking in and you don't happen to just luckily stumble upon somebody upon a herd in a public land hunt, it's why it's called hunting and not slaughtering, right?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
If you have the ability to go down and put a 5x5 down every year, then that's cool. If you have that ability, if you've got private land and stuff, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys wish that could be the case.
Yeah.
But if you're guaranteed a kill every year, that's like, okay, well, that's not hunting to some people, right?
That's not, you don't get the same high as a reward.
Right. It's like playing Madden on easy and beating a team 60-0. After you do it like 4 or 5 times, you're like, okay, this sucks. I need a challenge.
No, absolutely. Like, I had the opportunity to go get a deer 2 years ago, and like, I got into reloading, prior, like the year before, and loading my own rounds, and stuff like that. And, single-handedly, doing single loading, for a caliber, which I'm going to go hunt with, and knowing the the work and prep I put in behind that round, the knowledge I had to learn in order to load that round, the research I did, and then, making that bullet impact an animal at a really great distance was so rewarding.
Yeah, I bet.
And it's just, you're just like, holy crap, like that's what it's all about.
Well, and a lot of professionals and a lot of people that take hunting very serious, I feel like a lot of those guys in the higher echelon of things end up going that route, right? A lot of guys load their own rounds. They load their own ammunition.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it kind of goes back to the bow part where everything you do, every decision you make, every preparatory thing that you execute on the way to the hunt is all rewarded when you get an animal down, right? Yeah. That's the reward is getting the animal. Definitely. And then when you put on all that hard work and you're like, man, I did this.
Yeah.
I had help as far as where I could go and the people I was going with as a group, because it was a team effort to scout areas or help pack meat out. Yeah. But when it comes down to the actual action of everything, you loaded the round, you shot the round, you impacted an animal, you were able to pack meat out and put food in the fridge for your family. Right?
Yeah, because everybody can walk a trail, everybody can hike a trail, but until you have 40 to 80 pounds on your back, whether it's of gear or whether it's a combination of both that and meat, it's insane. Like, yeah, you can hop on a treadmill, you can put it at incline and go for an hour. Yeah, you can go do the same thing and hike the same trail, but there's an adrenaline dump that you can't train for.
Oh yeah.
That I'm talking like even like there's like tier 1 and tier 2 guys that they'll be like, you can't train for an adrenaline dump. You can train of what you think you'll do in that situation. Yeah. But it's the same thing with hunting. Like, you're gonna have an adrenaline dump after you shot that animal, whether it be with a rifle or a bow. That adrenaline dump after, quartering that animal out on the side of the mountain or in a field, and then packing it for miles. Sometimes 12, 15 miles one direction.
Oh, and if it's archery, right, or even rifle,
yeah.
A lot of people talk about this. Like if there's a elk across a canyon from you, but it's only 200 yards away, and you put that animal down, you have to go down the mountain, back up the mountain, and then pack him out, down the mountain, back up the mountain, back to where your camp is.
Or it might be go around a mountain, and it might be a 5-mile hike out of the way.
Oh yeah,
it's insane.
And those are considerations, right?
Yeah,
I've heard stories of people passing up shots on good, bucks, bull elk, because they're like, I couldn't pack it out.
It's funny you say that, because that actually happened with me and my neighbor 2 years ago. It was during archery season, and we were up late September, and we probably saw about 60 elk across a canyon that were between 600 yards and 1,000 yards away. And we seen advantageous routes and positions of which we could try to flank those animals, put ourselves in positions of range. And we're just like, it's going to take us 4 hours to get over there. There's just no way. And it's going to
it'd be too dark at that point. And
yeah,
I mean, what are you going to do?
Like, we even tried it the next day, and we got down to a river, and there's no way. You can't cross that, especially in September, because it's flowing fast.
Oh yeah.
It's still sort of high, and it's just the risk over reward. It's a cool story to have. It'd be a cooler story to get an animal, but it's not worth putting yourself in that position.
Well, yeah, because you got to consider, not only is it going to be hard to pack out, but are you going to injure yourself trying to get it up a freaking 45% incline? Right?
No, it's just not. Yeah, that's probably exactly what the incline was. It was insane.
Yeah, and that's kind of going back to the risk versus reward, preparedness. Knowing your limits.
Yeah.
You can prepare all year to go bow hunting, and you could be in shape. Cameron Haynes guy, right? That dude is a freak of nature in the good sense of the way.
Yeah.
That man could probably pack out a bull elk by himself and go hunting by himself and not have anybody need assistance with him.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, I'm sure there's been points in his career where he was like, you know what, I'm passing up that shot. And maybe he waited a day and figured out a way to go around and get him later, right?
No, absolutely.
But it's the same type of thing. Know your limits.
Yeah.
And the only way you know your limits is if you push them.
Yeah.
I've been elk hunting before on foot where I'm like, I'm so far away from camp. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get back. It's dark now. I've hiked up until like 3 a.m. to get back to camp.
Yeah.
After being up at 3 a.m. to go get to where I wanted to get.
Yeah.
Getting stuck or realizing that you chased elk so deep into the wilderness that you're like, okay, well, now I have to head back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that trek back takes so long because it's, like on a trail. 2 miles is completely different on a trail than it is on wilderness, right?
Yeah.
It's insane how that can just
it's
ruin your whole hunt.
it's nuts. It's wild. For sure, and the thing is, not only that are you battling the elements and the terrain, the animals, but you're battling against other hunters.
Oh yeah, especially Colorado, right? Public land hunts, archery are very high pressured.
It's insane. It is. It doesn't matter if you put in for a draw, or anything, unless you're hunting private property where it's restricted access. Expect to see a handful, if not dozens, of other individuals out the spot you were planning to hunting all year and getting ready for that.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just,
I think every year I've gone archery hunting, I've seen another group of hunters.
Oh, every year. Like this past year, went out. It was second rifle, and I went out as kind of like a scouter with, my neighbor, and it was just it was an area we were familiar with, but it's only accessible by horse or hiking. We got 12 miles, 9 miles back, and there was still mountainsides of 3 or 4 people in orange.
That's insane.
But the thing is, those individuals were all on horses. I think we were the only.
Oh God!
I think we were the only bozos back there and on foot. But it's just it's nuts. You're battling people that are riding 4-legged machines that can walk 4 or 5 miles an hour. While you're walking 2.5 or 3,
traverse terrain that's incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and traversing terrain, not having to carry any weight because it's all on their horse or their mule, and it's an unfair advantage. And you have that, they're spooking animals.
Well, I mean, that's kind of when you go to anything, you want to get an unfair advantage, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame them. Like if I had horses or llamas or mules, like I'd do the same exact thing.
Yeah, it's an unfair advantage because you're pissed that you don't have it.
That's exactly right. Because every person you meet back there that had a horse, they're not from Colorado. And it's nuts because I ran into in that area, about 8 individuals out from Tennessee, a couple from Arkansas. I always see people from Wisconsin every single year. And it's nuts. Like I get it. I understand it. But you have a group of guys, 5, 6 guys that are out there rifle hunting or bow hunting, that paid $650, $670 a pop for a tag that they might not even fill. It's insane.
Well, not only that, but they may be in a guided hunt too, right?
Yeah, and they're paying thousands of dollars.
I don't understand that.
Like it takes you years to save up $8-10 grand, and sometimes that's not even like a lot compared to some outfitters. Some outfitters will charge you 15-20 grand, but you're more often than not guaranteed a bull that they've been watching all year.
Yeah.
They know their patterns. That's their
They
job.
know where they're going to be.
Yeah.
Or they have a very high probability or chance of knowing where they're going to be.
Oh, yeah. Like,
right, once again, going into hunting, nothing is absolute, nothing is certain, and it's always a gamble. But, yeah, if you're paying that money and you have a scout that's been scouting a specific animal for that long, they'll have a good idea and educated guess as to where they're going to find it.
Yeah, that's like the owner of Jimmy John's. He got like the governor's tag or something like that.
I heard about
of like New Mexico or it was either New Mexico or Arizona, and he shot like a 7x7 bull, like world class.
Yeah, bull. I heard about that. That's nuts.
It was like its tines were like this. It was like this. The tines.
Tree trunk.
Just insane. Yeah. And I think, but the thing is, the dude shot with a rifle. He shot it across a canyon, and the shot was like 600-700 yards.
Jesus,
that's an insane shot. I wouldn't take that shot.
Well, and some people say that that's like unethical, right? Like, oh, why would you take a shot that far? You got to get close to that animal.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, but if you're confident in your ability to hit that shot,
yeah, I wouldn't mind that shot if I was on flat level ground, but shooting across a canyon, like. The guy got it in one shot, dropped it right there because the bull was bedded. Because he had another group of guys that were on that side of the canyon that bedded that bull for them that morning. Were kind of eyes on that bull whenever the shot went off. It was It was insane, but it's a cool video to watch if you can watch it.
Yeah, I didn't see the video, but I did hear about the story.
Yeah,
and that is nuts.
It's nuts. It's crazy, but it's this that guy from Jimmy John's probably paid 10, 20 grand, between 10 and 20 grand to shoot that bull.
And that's the other thing about it, though. How do you? There's a lot of old school guys in hunting that'd be like, well, that's not hunting. That's legal poaching, right? That's legal poaching. That's paying to win.
Yeah,
you're paying to win, and how much self satisfaction do you get out of that? Some people don't care. If you have the money and you can do that, and you're like, yeah, I shot this world class.
It's like going
bull.
to shoot a freaking tiger.
Yeah, it's kind of
Africa.
You can almost equate it to like a super high end athlete like a Conor McGregor, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Kobe Bryant, and everyone's going to hate on it, and they're going to be like, yeah, well, where's your world class bull?
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't have one. Yeah, that's the difference between you and me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's nuts. It's crazy. The generations have definitely changed, even between the last 20 to 30 years. Your Fred Bears, your Ted Nugent guys.
Yeah,
that grew up watching Ted Nugent. Now we're like the generation of the Randy Newbergs.
Cameron Haynes, Meat Eater. What's his name?
Steve Rinella.
Yeah, Steve Rinella.
All those guys. So were they pulling people like Joe Rogan to go hunt, Jocko Willink to go hunt, David Goggins to go hunt. It's nuts. Like, and
that stuff's cool. I have high respect for those guys. I think Steve Rinella kind of has, since he does it as a profession, right? He's like a Ted Nugent style where he's got a lot of people that can facilitate his ability to put down animals. But everything I've ever watched from that guy has always been fantastic as far as his outlook on what hunting is, right? What it means to be a hunter. He actually puts in hard work to go get those animals. It's not like he's getting those people that hold animals and plays for him. They break off and he gets a shot off. No. This man is actually hunting animals.
Yeah.
He's not. He has a show, but it's legit, real deal.
Yeah, it's awesome, and like I respect that so much. You know?
Absolutely.
But I don't know. It's nuts. It's definitely a gamble. It's a different way of gambling.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of an addiction because you're
chasing the high.
You're chasing that high. Like every year, look forward. Like me and you tonight, we were already discussing what we're trying to do for this coming season.
Yeah.
And it's just it's nuts. Like
you're chasing the bull. Everyone wants to get a big bull. Yep. Everyone wants to get a big buck. And then if you hunt often enough and you have the ability to do that, which takes a lot of time and money to do, as far as time off work, everyone wants a horned animal for the ability to say, well, I have a big freezer full of meat and I got a head on my wall.
Yeah.
But people that hunt for like a living, they'll take what they get when they get it, right? They're like, yeah, I got a cow only, or I got a, don't antlerless tag, but I don't care. It's meat in the freezer.
Yeah.
It's food for my family.
Right.
And then that'll be part of the season, and the next part of the season they'll have the ability to get a buck later on anyway.
Right.
And those guys that have it down to science every year as far as their seasons they hit, their tags they draw, that's a very big scientific method too, right?
Yeah.
You're lining up your life and your dates and your priorities and your free time to be prepared to put in the right information and tags where you need to be, how you want to be it, and you're just trying to set yourself up for success to be the most successful in harvesting animals.
Yeah, that's 100% right. Like, it's taken me, I lived here in Colorado now, 4 years this year, actually, and it's taken me 4 years to get my gear, like, good.
Yeah.
Like, to have a solid pack, to have a Mystery Ranch pack, like, to have a solid tent, I have a teepee-style tent where I can put a stove in it. Now I have a foldable stove that weighs 4 pounds that I can put in my pack that will allow me to go further, longer, and stuff like that.
Longer,
warmer, and everything like that, where I can go when it's 20 degrees out at night and I'm going to be fine. Like, investing in a good sleeping bag, all that stuff. What I just told you is probably about $1,400 worth of gear. Yeah. But it's taken me that long to acquire all that stuff.
That doesn't even count your clothes, your boots, your bow. And that's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
I've been hunting for a long time too, and every year you're like, okay, I think I got all the stuff I need.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you go hunting and you're like, dang it, I knew I needed to buy this, or if I bought this thing, it would help me out.
Yeah.
You always find something you need to go with you. I swear to God.
Yeah. Like I found out that I love wearing flip-flops because sometimes you're going through creeks, you know, and I like to wear, you know, something that I know that's going to not have to worry about being waterproof because, you know, every boot is waterproof till it's not. Until the water is over the boot, you know, and stuff like that.
Or you're getting rained on and it goes down your legs.
Or, yeah, you're getting rained on, it's going down your legs. But, you know, being able to put on your flip-flops real fast, you know, taking off your socks, taking off your boots, carrying that stuff for that quarter mile to get back to wherever you got to go. Like, I've learned that, you know, and the comfort of having, you know, your feet breathe after a long day around camp is nice. Like
that's probably what I'd use it more for.
Exactly,
myself.
Right?
You're a wild man. I don't go through streams and flip-flops.
Yeah, we did some pretty Western stuff this year, but you know, it's just like little things like that. Like I love bringing a pack pole with me to go fish.
Yeah,
because
like
when it's
a pin pole, they call it, I think, right?
Yeah, like when it's hot and you know nothing is moving, everything's bedded.
Yeah, burn some time,
find a stream, which we did, find some ponds,
cut some nice brookies and stuff.
Yeah, and go fish. And it's and the thing is, like little highs like that, little successes like that make the trip.
Oh yeah,
those are stories and pictures we will have for a lifetime. You know, and it's cool because what you're catching up there is not like fish that's flew in.
It's not stocked or anything.
It's not stocked or anything like that. You know, it's wild brookies, wild brownies, and all that. It's, you know, it's really cool.
And then trying to put in the work and hopefully one year you get that payoff where you're like, I got my shot on a bull.
Yeah.
Or I put down a big bull, but it took me 5, 6, 7 years to get there.
Yeah.
I don't think people expect that. So when people try to get into hunting, they're like, oh, well, you know, where's all the bulls at? And you're like, don't know, way high up in the mountain, or, you know, I don't know where they are. We got to keep finding, got to keep searching.
Yeah. Like they're, I mean, man, when we walked out that last day, like, hey, did you see any elk? And we're like, yeah, we saw elk, you know, but like, I was very hesitant to be like, hey, you know, they're right over there. No, man. Like we had to put in a great amount of work to get to where we got to see elk. I'm not going to tell you where they're at, man. Like, go find it for yourself. Go put in the work and you'll find them.
Yeah. You know? That's a public land nightmare, though, man. It's terrible.
Or you'd be that dick that is like, yeah, dude, they're way over there, and they're nowhere to be over there.
Oh, yeah, if you go around this mountain, they're going to be on the backside of it.
Yeah.
It's about a 2-day hike.
Absolutely. But, yeah, no, it's nuts. Like, hunting in the Rockies, whether it's in the Montanas or Wyomings or Colorado or Arizona, New Mexico, like, it's a gift. Especially what I call myself a flatlander because I'm from the Midwest. Yeah. It's a gift. Like, you know, having the opportunity to, you know, bow hunt, you know, in a stand where you only walk 20 minutes away from your vehicle to go hunt and sit in your stand and know that you're going to see deer, you know, and then, you know, going to Colorado, putting in 15-mile days to not see a goddamn thing and like 2 grouse and everything that, you know, you would see, but the animal that you have a tag for, basically. Oh yeah, you know,
they always know when you have a tag.
Yeah, it's nuts, but like it's the story that you build from that experience that you will have forever. Because there's people that I grew up with that would quit their job if I were to be like, hey man, come out here, like, you know, I got all the gear, like, come with me, and we'll go up for a week, and we'll try to get you on an animal.
Yeah.
It's not a promise. We've already talked about that, but like,
no guarantee.
But that experience within itself, you know, it's nuts. Like I have a guy that's back home, that's the jack of all trades. He's a doctor. He's a lawyer. He was like, you know, I don't know if he ran for some type of like government, like level, not like a senator, but like a rep. I don't know, like really,
a councilman or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Something like that. And this dude has money falling out of his ears. It's insane. And that dude probably takes every year 10, 12 horses up a mountain, and it's nuts. He drives all the horses out. He pays, you know, his friends to come out to where their job is to only cook food or to only bring the horses out, bring the horses back, to set up their canvas wall tents. and all that, just for him and his 2 boys to go up there for a week and
That's insane.
go hunt. And, that just shows you all the money in the world that you can have and still not be successful. Because I don't think he's been successful like the last 3 years.
But the other thing, though, is that money can buy you comfort, right?
But money can buy you comfort, get you hot meals every single night, where you have your own cook tent, your own tent for cooking, not for sleeping. You have another tent for that. But it's nuts. Like, you're 100% right. It buys you comfort, but it's...
you see stuff like that all the time, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the hunting world is no different than, internet influencers as a whole anyway.
Yeah.
Right? People see young guys driving cars and stuff because they're YouTube influencers or anything like that.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, yeah, I can do that. Or I'm going to try to, that's the lifestyle I want to live. It's the same thing in the hunting game. You see these intense elk camps that people stay at for a week and a half, 2 weeks.
It's nuts.
And they're huge. You have these mansions of canvas tents.
Yeah.
And
it's like a little town.
Yeah, it's literally a 2-week town where all they're doing is just focused on hunting the whole time. And they have a big place that they paid a ton of money to get 10, 12 horses packed up and bring this mini town up deep into the mountains where not a lot of people can get to regardless.
Yeah.
And they have just 2 weeks of just solid privacy and or the ability to just, really relax and focus on hunting and not necessarily as much as trying to get to where they need to get because they're already there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, it's nuts because...
And everyone wants to do that, right? We see that and we're like, dude, let's do that.
Yeah, that's why I have a canvas tent right there.
Yeah, but then you realize what it is they have set up and how they got it set up, and you're like, oh my God. Like,
yeah, you're like, oh man, I don't have 10 grand laying around for like 3 horses.
I don't have the resources to make that happen.
Yeah.
It's the reality. So guess what? We have to work harder.
Yeah.
We have to... the average Joe has to be able to forge ahead and say, okay, I don't have the luxury of being able to have this big canvas elk camp.
Yep.
That's huge and I can stand up in and like play fucking beer pong in. But what I can do is pack in a 1-man tent and try to get as deep in the mountains as I can to figure out where the animals are and try to get one down.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's like that. It's exactly like that. But that's a great perspective because I've had buddies that have texted me, emailed me from the Midwest. We're like, dude, hey, I really want to come out to Colorado. What can you tell me to expect? What should I bring for gear? And I tell them and I give them a list. And they're just like, you know what? Maybe in like 2 or 3 years I'll come out because I can't afford to do that this year. And it's true because right off the bat, might as well take off $700 because that's going to be your tag. Ugh. Depends if you're going to drive out here. There's another $1,000 for gas. Like, oh yeah. Then your gear is going to cost you another $1,000. If you don't have a good bow already, all that stuff.
I think clothing and gear is so important.
It is, right? Like merino wool socks, waterproof boots.
Yes.
Like this is my first year. My wife was really nice to me for Christmas this year and got me some really nice boots.
Yeah.
I've never had really good hunting boots. I've always used boots that I had from work.
Yeah.
And you saw me last year. I destroyed those things. Destroyed those things.
Fell apart.
Yeah, they did. And it's nuts. And I'm so excited to go out. And we're supposed to go shed hunting this year. I'm going to test all that stuff out again. Like, I'm so excited. It's going to be awesome because I love testing out the limits of gear.
And that's the thing. I can't remember who I was having this discussion about. Who I was having this discussion with about. It is important to have good gear, right?
Oh, it's life-saving.
Now, that also doesn't mean you have to buy the most expensive gear.
No.
But I think Steve Ranella himself said this. He said, I want to buy the best gear because I would rather know that I quit or I failed at something and not my equipment.
Yes, right? I remember him even saying that.
I think he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, actually.
Yeah,
he's like, guess what?
So, yeah.
You bought $500 boots. Now, is that a little bit extreme? Yeah. Is that expensive for boots? Yeah. Absolutely. But guess what? Do they fail? Probably not. Most $500 boots will not fail you.
No.
And if they do, most companies will make it right.
Yeah.
By you. Say, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. But once again, you're investing that money to buy equipment that's high end, reliable, and you may not live up to the ability of that gear, but you can always improve that.
Yeah,
you can always have the ability, like, well, I was able to hike 2 miles off the trail this year because I wasn't fit enough, or I didn't know where I was going, I just wasn't prepared, didn't have enough food, didn't have enough water.
Yeah.
Guess what? Next year, you are learning. Those are the lessons learned that you can take with you in the next hunting season. Okay, so, well, guess what worked? My boots.
Yeah.
Guess what didn't work? My water. I'll make sure I have enough water, or I have a life straw, or here's some streams I can scout out in the springtime. Whatever the case may be.
Yep.
You're using that every time, and your gear is never a crutch. Only your self-worth as far as your work ethic and your ability to get to where you want.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's 100% the truth, because like I said, I'd rather, pay all that money to have my gear outlast me if I had to.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing too, is that obviously people that have to budget their gear and their equipment and their bow hunting and rifle in general, just hunting equipment in general, you kind of put it prioritized, right? And to me, one of the most important things you could ever buy is boots.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Your feet are number one.
Absolutely. Especially for elk hunting, especially for back country, like hiking and getting deep into the wilderness. If you do not have good boots, dude, you're done.
No, you're absolutely right. Cause
you're going to have to call your hunt off early and you're going to have to go home.
It's unforgiving terrain, to say the least. Like, I think this past year, we hiked a mile and a half, 2 miles through a swamp.
Oh, that was terrible.
And I think we were saying every word underneath the sun. And, we were just kind of over it day one, right?
Oh, man.
We were like, dude, we're soaking wet. All of our gear is wet. Our boots are wet. We finally get to a camp at 11 o'clock at night. We had to get stuff warm. Otherwise, we're not going to make it. And we did what we had to do to get warm, to get dry.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Otherwise, our trip was over.
Yeah.
And we put too much work, we put too much money and time and sacrifice, for that end goal to just quit.
Yeah, and that's sometimes your gear will fail you, but sometimes you got to figure out how to make it work regardless.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can be too committed. Right?
Yeah, like same trip. It's like day 3, and we're out scouting, and we, it starts raining.
Oh man, we got soaked,
and all of our gear back at base camp was left out. Our sleeping bags were soaked. Our tents were soaked.
Yep.
The ground around us was soaked. So we did what we had to do to get warm, right? To dry things off. We were taking, cycles, to warm each other's stuff, to dry each other's stuff.
That's another lesson learned thing, right?
By any means. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you leave your camp, put all your shit away.
Yeah. You have to waterproof your gear before you leave it.
Yes.
Have to.
Yes. And it sucks. And we were only half mile away from our gear.
Oh yeah, 15, 20 minutes, right?
Thank God we had a parka, because we would have been miserable soaked, because it probably got down to like 30 or 40 that night.
Yeah, which isn't like crazy cold.
It's not crazy cold, but it's cold when you're wet. Yeah, absolutely.
It is. It's just the cool thing about hunting is when you get down an animal and you successfully harvest an animal, you are providing food for your family.
Oh yeah.
And there's so many people on different levels of perspective in America that really frown upon hunting overall. A lot of people say it's just strictly, trophy hunting. A lot of people say it's poaching, and, a lot of people just are completely against animals being harmed at all. Mm-hmm. What they don't understand is that a person that successfully harvests an animal legally, not only is helping the environment as a whole, as far as their local community, their state community, it's also helping their family life in general. Yeah. Knowing where your meat comes from, and knowing that you've successfully harvested an animal and you have meat that you personally put on the table for your family to eat, is a huge thing. It's another one of the highs. It goes along with loading your rounds individually, putting in the hard work to hike miles off terrain to go get an animal.
Yep.
The reward of that is bringing it home to your family, eating it, bringing it home to your friends and your people to say, hey, look, I shot an elk this year. I got some steaks for all of us. We can enjoy that.
God,
and there's people that are against hunting that go buy meat from a grocery store, and they couldn't tell you where it's from.
No, and that's like the big thing is like, if you're gonna sit here and point fingers, not you, but like just the Joe that doesn't know anything about like the environment or wildlife, be like, hey, that's really inhumane. Be like, okay, well, why don't you go to your local slaughterhouse? Let me know how they take down that cow and that pig.
Yeah.
Tell me what caliber they use when they do that. Because I guarantee you it's smaller than mine that I use when I go hunt. And I guarantee you that you're going to feel that it's really way more inhumane. They're locked up in pens.
Oh, yeah.
They're coming in single file. And they're more or less like murdered.
Oh, yeah.
Is probably the way to put it.
Well, it goes slaughtered.
They're slaughtered at an early age, where the elk and the animals of which we're hunting are at 5 to 7 years old already. They're coming on like their last quarter of their lifespan, right?
A mature age to harvest, yeah.
Yeah, and they're not being fed with steroid, induced ingredients, and stuff like that. Yeah, you can get your organic stuff where none of it's supplemented with that stuff, but that stuff's really hard to find.
But here's the other thing, though. People can slap an organic sign on a packet of steaks, and people that go buy that don't bother to really research it, right? They're like, oh, it's got a sticker that says organic on it. Must be good.
But it's lived in a cage its entire life.
But how would you know?
Yeah, exactly, right.
How would anyone know that?
It's nuts. And, this animal of which we're hunting has roamed free its entire life in the national forests and stuff like that. It's ate sage, it's ate grass, it's alfalfa, it's ate pine cones, so on and so forth. Like, it's not there eating corn every day unless it's like a whitetail.
Or it's not pinned up one after another, just eating troughs of food that everyone else
exactly is right. And it's nuts, and it's crazy, because if you're gonna sit here and point fingers and complain about that, you better not be eating a Slim Jim at the gas station. You better not, be eating any type of candy that has milk in it. There better not be any of that, dude, because that's the biggest hypocrite of them all.
Absolutely.
It's just kind of head scratching.
Right. And I can appreciate the vegan's perspective that says you shouldn't kill any animal all the time. I shouldn't say respect the perspective, but I definitely understand why they would say that over somebody else that just is against hunting.
Right.
Because vegans have a very strict standard as far as like they want nothing to do with any animals. Okay, fine. Take your argument. I understand it. We'll disagree and leave it at that.
Yep.
But people that point fingers, like I said, that still go to the grocery store and buy packs of steak and ground beef and everywhere, and they're like, I'm against hunting. I will never do it, but I will make sure that my kids are fed every night from the grocery store meat that I buy. Yeah. It's like, well, wouldn't you feel better if you fed your kids from the meat you harvested?
It's a level of self-sustainment.
Right. And that not only does it make you feel better, but you know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And you provided it.
Yeah.
Like you did. Like, not anybody else from the grocery store, not a slaughterhouse, not a cattle farmer. You know what I mean?
Like 3 years ago when I got my first elk, like it fed us for about 10 months out of the year.
Oh, yeah.
An entire cow elk.
Yeah.
It was nuts. Like, I had over 95 pounds of ground elk, 100% elk. Actually I did put like a little bit of fat.
I usually cut it with like pork suet, right?
Right, but it was probably like a 98 too. Yeah. But it's self-rewarding, because like when you have friends over or family over and they're like, wow, what is that? Like, that tastes good. And I'm like, that's elk. They're like, really? Where'd you get that? I'm like, I killed it. And
I harvested that animal.
And I'm like, we bagged it and cut it in this garage in my kitchen, this very table.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. And they're like, wow. I'm like, yeah, I know where it came from.
Yeah, absolutely. But going to self-reliancy is, I think that's a big part of our culture as a whole that's really missing amongst a lot of people.
Yeah.
Of every generation. I'm talking about baby boomers, Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, all of it. There's so many people on every single generation that don't care about self-reliancy or don't care about even being involved in it in themselves.
No, absolutely.
And there's so much reliancy on everything that's been handed around us because it's such a consumer-based society, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you have constant electricity, constant water, constant heat, and no one bothers to even look where it comes from, how it gets there, or anything that revolves around it. And all they say is, well, I don't care. I have the ability to flush my toilet and I have the ability to run my heat. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Like when gyms closed down, guess what? Got one in my garage.
Don't need to worry about it.
Don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, not my problem.
It's huge because like over the last 2.5 years, is that what it's been? 2 years of this pandemic?
I actually think we're getting ready to roll up on 3.
Is it? God,
Wasn't it March?
Dude, I have public math.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it was March of 2020 is what it was. So we're coming up on 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Because it's right after I bought my razor.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane. Like you saw people freak out about toilet paper. You saw people freak out about non-perishable goods. When you heard that like stores were closing and businesses were closing, you would go and try to find macaroni and cheese in the grocery store and you couldn't find it.
Yeah.
You couldn't find ramen.
Yeah, but if you're self-prepared and self-reliant, you don't got to worry about that stuff.
Exactly.
And there's a very healthy part of that, right? That where you're like, I'm just prepared for when things were to happen that don't normally happen.
Yeah.
And there's obviously the unhealthy line, or maybe the what people would call an extreme part, where they're like, you know what, they've got 4 or 5 Connexes buried out in the middle of nowhere. It's chock full of food for like 2 years worth and all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to knock them for it necessarily, but like I have the ability to, I have the capacity to try to plan for when things go bad, and you can't rely on the things that you don't understand how they work every day that make your life comfortable.
Yeah.
I have the capacity and the ability to say, okay, I'm prepared if we lose out electricity for X amount of time.
Yep.
It's going to be okay. We have XYZ lined up to sustain ourselves. Not that big a deal. And if it goes to an extended period of time, then there's going to be bigger problems regardless anyway.
Yeah.
And there's just people that kind of take that, the preppers, right? The doomsday cultists. They have these crazy prepared things and shelters and stuff.
It's nuts.
Like I said, I don't want to sound derogatory. I don't want to sound derogatory and knock them for it, because at the end of the day, they're going to be the people that could be like, y'all call me crazy, but here we are. It's Mad Max time. And yeah, but
as long as I know where they live, that's all that matters.
But anyway, the whole point I'm trying to make here is like self-reliance is huge, and being able to make sure that you and your family are taken care of when things don't go normal, or things that make society rotate very comfortably for people to just not have to think about anything and just consume and relax. That's gone a lot in our generations, and
it's
sad.
It is like that's 100% true.
I wish people in general, going back to the exercise more, producing more of an exercise culture or a fitness culture, a healthy fitness culture. I think the same thing as self-reliance should be pushed too, right? And I think that's what happened when our government was formed back in 1700s. You know what I mean? They were like, we're self-sustaining. We don't need the overlords of Britain telling us how to run our lives. We don't need that. Here's our government. It's supposed to be self-sustaining. We're going to have representatives that represent where you live locally. Yep. And now we've come to this point where everyone's so reliant on the government. Everyone's so reliant on the power grid. Everyone's so reliant on the sewer system. Everyone's relying on something else.
Yeah.
And if people really focused on themselves and take some self-reflection to say, well, what happens if the power grid goes down? What am I going to do?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. That's why I have a generator.
What happens if I don't have running water?
Right. Or if you don't have gas to fuel that generator.
Right. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
It's a good question.
Nobody even bothers to ask those.
You're right. And
they just keep going every day, just over and over, rinse, repeat of everything's going to be okay.
Because the people that are going to thrive at the end of the day are going to be your hunters.
Oh, yeah.
Realistically, people are going to be at the top of the food chain, because whether they have a tag for it or not, at the end of the day, you got to feed your family. You will do what you have to do to feed your family.
Not only that, but if that's the case and that's the thing, no one cares about tags anymore.
No. Like, I'm going to drive 20 minutes north and go to the Pawnee grasslands.
Do you ever watch Tim Pool?
Yeah.
He's a big news guy. But he did the same thing. He had a discussion amongst his newscast, and he was like, he said it. He goes, I think a lot of people in big cities, if something bad were to happen, are just going to be done. They're done. He goes, all the rural Americans and all the people that live outside of cities are going to probably be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
or at least be more successful in being able to figure out how to recuperate and rebuild.
Yeah.
But he's like, everybody in the inner cities that's reliant on living in a city, they're done. I mean, how can you support that? How can you support that? How can you live through that?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and that's like a really hard truth. And hopefully that is, as cool as it may sound, like I really hope that's something that we never really have to experience.
Well, of course not.
You know,
I don't think anybody wants bad things like that to happen.
You're 100% right, but it's nuts because we never probably thought we were ever going to live through a pandemic in our time, and well, guess what? We're still in the middle of one. Granted, it's not as severe as what it was, or chaotic, where you're going to Costco and you can't find Clorox wipes. You know.
Yeah.
But it's nuts. You know.
Absolutely, it is.
But it brings a different perspective during I like to call it the lull, right? Where there's nothing going on. Those are the times to get your extras. You know, hey, let's go ahead and get an extra thing of TP, right? Hey, let's get some more pasta here.
Yeah.
Or whatever it might be. Stupid stuff. But until it's not stupid anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people, I think in the South are like hurricane and tornado areas. A lot of people are more prepared for natural disasters, right?
Oh yeah.
So a lot of people have flashlights ready and available on hand. You know, people have the ability to sandbag their homes or whatever the case may be, or sandbag off areas to try to mitigate flooding.
Right.
And sometimes you just don't think about that stuff if you don't live there. We don't live in the South.
No.
So we really don't worry about flooding a lot.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't hardly ever happen, but it has happened.
It's happened up in Nebraska. It's happened here at the Poudre Canyon.
It's happened.
With the mudslides.
Right.
Prior to me getting here, but I've heard stories.
Exactly.
The Windsor tornado. You know, it's devastating. It's nuts. Everybody's prepared to it or not.
Right. And but the thing is, a lot of people where we live don't prepare for that type of stuff. And some people do.
Yeah.
And so when some people had that stuff prepared and their power went out and they had fresh water, they had bottled water or whatever it was that they did to prepare themselves, they were ready to go.
Yeah.
They were prepared.
Absolutely.
And there were so many people that weren't, because they don't normally get tornadoes.
No.
And that's what I think kind of goes along with the healthy preparedness, right?
Yeah.
Making sure you have the ability to sustain yourself during a time of emergency.
Yep.
Until you can recuperate, regroup, and figure out what your next move is going to be, or what the status update is of people the blue collar workers that are getting things back up and running, getting power lines back up, getting water taps refilling. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So that's what I mean by the healthiness of it.
No, you're absolutely right, and it's crazy. I always tell people it's like, hey, it's stupid till it's not.
Oh, I know.
You know, be like, it's nuts. So, it was crazy. I had my family come visit me, and I was like, Mom, Dad, I don't have toilet paper. I can't find toilet paper. You can't order it online.
Oh, yeah.
You can't get it at a store. Luckily, they were coming in a week. Yes, I had toilet paper to last me until then. But I was like, hey, when you come, can you bring some toilet? 2 or 3 packages of toilet paper? This sounds ridiculous. That sounds stupid.
It's very stupid.
But it's that's the reality that we lived in.
Yeah.
It's nuts, because everybody, it's insane. Crazy. It's crazy that we went through that.
I also love that afterwards that people were trying to return all the toilet paper they bought. And stores were like, nah.
Nope. No. And you're right. They, screw them.
Yeah. You want to be a selfish hoarder that, trying to screw over people and upmarket toilet paper and be a dickhead? Guess what? You bought it. You're stuck with it.
Yeah. That's
an unnecessary preparedness thing, right? That's the extremist part of it.
Yeah. It's like extreme couponing.
Yeah. It's like, dude, you decided to buy $300 worth of toilet paper that takes up 2 rooms of your house, and now you're stuck with it. What are you going to do?
Yeah, no.
Give it out for Christmas?
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. But it's nuts because there's preparedness in all sorts of things in seasons. Whenever seasons change in the environment or in the environment which you live in, your preparedness should follow suit. During cold weather, you should always have, maybe hand warmers in your vehicle, blankets in your vehicle.
Backup heaters for your home if you lose power.
Backup heaters, extra, fuel sitting in your garage for a generator. Yeah. Your power goes out. and stuff like that. And some ramen noodles, like in your vehicle, a way to heat and eat that. Like, luckily us, we got Mr. E's, right? MREs, to be able, like if we're caught out somewhere and we can't, for whatever reason, right? We have a way to sustain ourselves until hopefully help can arrive.
Yeah.
During the summer, you're going to want packs of water in your vehicle. You're going to want some way to provide yourself shade.
Right. Shelter. Yeah.
And stuff like that. Like, it's just like little things people don't take, into account for until they're in that moment. They're like, man, I really wish I had that.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that, that goes back to kind of the hunting thing where every year you think of something new. You're like, God, I knew I should have brought this, or I forgot this, or next year I'm making sure I bring this.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's ever revolving door of being prepared, finding out what works, learning experiences, and making sure that you're actually learning from them.
No,
you're going to have lessons that you can learn from all the time. And how you take advantage of those and how you remedy those problems is all on you. It's all that self-sustainment.
Yep.
And like you might have a different idea of what your preparedness is as compared to mine.
Right.
You might have the ability to be more prepared from certain aspects of your life than me, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And it's very individualistic, but there are some basic things that everyone can do to be prepared for, minimalist types of things.
Like you have kids.
Yeah.
So like that might be like having extra diapers in your bag.
Oh yeah.
Or like powder or formula, whatever it might be, right? Like extra blankets, stuff like that. Extra spare clothes for them, like all that stuff. Everybody's different, like you said. So it all sounds ridiculous until you're caught in that moment and you wish you had something.
Well, we had that big blizzard that happened 2 years ago, remember? And like everywhere was shut down. People couldn't get into work.
Yeah.
Like, I can't make it. And you're like, well, you better figure it out. And they're like, I can't figure it out. There's nothing to figure out.
No.
I'm not making it.
You're absolutely right.
Power was out everywhere. People were like trying to figure out how to get warm because they couldn't heat their homes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That happened in Colorado, where a place that snows pretty often, and not very often it snows so much and snow heavy where people lose power.
Yeah.
So when it happened, everyone was panicking.
Yeah. No.
Power's out. Heat's out.
It's nuts. Like it's crazy. It is. It's 100% crazy. But like, it's a reality that you must face, that you at some point have to have the conversation with yourself and your family and be like, hey, if we're ever caught in this situation, what do you think we should have?
Right. And that's the self-reflection. That's taking the, what do you think is necessary? What do you think is rational?
Hey, should we have candles? Do we have oil lamps? Do we have oil for the lamps? Do we have wicks for the lamps?
Yeah.
Like all that stuff. Like, if the power
you have the ability to eat food that doesn't need heated up.
Yeah. Like, hey, like me, unfortunately, I don't have gas appliances inside my house. And I say unfortunately because growing up I did. So if it was the power to go out, we had to stay warm. Right? We had a stovetop to kind of keep an area warm.
Right. Or you could cook up soup. You can cook food.
Exactly. Right. But it's just, the house I live in just doesn't have that capability.
Right.
And that's okay, because there's other means. I have a grill.
Yeah.
I got charcoal. I got wood.
Yeah.
I can start a fire if I had to eat.
Yeah.
But it's just it's all things from past experiences that you should be able to bring to the table to self-reflect with yourself and your significant other and your family to ensure that if you're ever put in that position that you're going to not have to just survive, but you can thrive in that position.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, is that I like helping people.
Yeah.
And there's a big thing in Colorado. A lot of people probably don't know, but there's people in Colorado that actively go out during winter storms and blizzards to try to pull people that are stuck.
It is, right? It is a very cool community. Yeah, absolutely. There is.
You see that a lot.
There's like a 4x4 rescue. When I used to have Facebook, like there was an organization of which I followed where it was all lifted vehicles. These people knew trails, knew the immediate areas of where people would often get stuck at. And they'd go out there during snowstorms, winch everything and create all these type of pulleys on trees and pull vehicles out of, slopes in the mountains to.
But I even mean in the city though.
But even in the city or the country, you're absolutely right.
There's people that are just driving around, random Coloradans, random citizens that are just driving around looking for people that are stuck, and they will pull them out. And those are the type of people that are almost always the most prepared. You want to know why? Because they are so confident in their preparedness that they can start helping other people.
And that's a great level of preparedness to have.
It's a good feeling.
It's a good feeling to know that you know, you have that knowledge, you have that baseline
You have resources.
resources to be able to like, okay, I can sustain my people. Now I can go out and help others.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, you're so put together that your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. You now can go help people.
Yeah.
And that's a good feeling to have.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Awesome, right?
It is. No, absolutely. 100% is. What we went over fitness, the importance of fitness, how it can help, you as a person, help you as a hunter, help you as somebody that wants to be prepared.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the topics we covered tonight kind of go back. It's almost a repeating pattern with some guests I've had in the past is, self-accountability, self-reliance, and self-worth. And a lot of it, we went the hunting part of it, the fitness part of it, how they coincide. Mm-hmm. There's so much things you have to be passionate about to get involved in and be knowledgeable about. A lot of people that try to get into hunting maybe not know anything about it. And it takes a lot of research and
trial and error
and self diving into things to find out knowledge from it, right? You have to have the ability to filter out what's nonsense, what makes sense, what's actually helpful, what's not. Mm-hmm. And hunting especially comes with that and fitness, right? When you Google fitness things, it comes up with all kinds of garbage. And you really have to figure out how to cipher and filter out useless information.
Yeah.
And so if anybody's trying to get into fitness or trying to get into hunting or, just trying to get more well-informed with anything, more being prepared, what's the bare minimum of what people think is prepared, having fresh water on hand available if something happens, having the ability to have light, heat, whatever that case may be. Everyone that's getting into that or trying to figure more information about that, you have to be very careful and you have to be very diligent on your own research, right? And so I always encourage people to just make sure that don't take any information from one source.
No.
Always try to cross-check it. Always try to, almost try to disprove things that you like, right? If I think that an X feature of hunting is the most superior type of hunting, I'm going to try to find articles. I'm going to try to find information that can counter that and say, well, this is why this is not the best technique of hunting.
Yeah.
Because not only are you going to be challenging what you believe as far as what you think is the best, you're information gathering and you're cross-checking yourself and you're saying, okay, well, I thought this was the best, but this has weak points according to this. Mm-hmm. Now, are both these things true? Let's try to find the middle ground of it. Taking the best of both and figuring out, okay, now I'm doing some research. Now I'm getting involved in saying, okay, I'm taking this information from here because I think it's actually useful. And I'm taking the information from here because I think this is useful.
Yeah.
And wrapping it all up and making your own personal judgment and your own personal information and decisions that you think are best for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing. And yeah, we talked about dollar amounts of gear, and you do not need to go out and spend thousands of dollars on gear. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars. Go take what you have, go find an appropriate season to test that gear and see what works and what doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need to go out and buy Sika hunting gear. You don't have to go out and buy Under Armour hunting gear or anything like that. If what you use is from Walmart, so be it. I still use stuff from Walmart.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about back in the old days, I'm talking about early 1900s, dudes were using freaking overalls and fur coats to be hunting, deep late winter, late season hunts.
Yeah.
And they're just trudging through the snow. And
yeah.
they were either toughing it out because they were wet and they're cold and they figured out how to keep themselves warm, or they just had the ability and the knowledge and doing it so long that they figured out what's going to keep them warm in the late seasons. And your point is that you don't have to spend $1,000 on gear.
You don't have to have the best bow on the market. You don't have to have the best rifle on the market. You don't need to shoot the most expensive ammo. You don't have to. Do your research. Know what grain of arrow works for whatever designated animal. You don't want to be shooting a light grained arrow for a heavy animal. It's common sense.
Yeah.
Same with a light calibered weapon for a heavy animal.
Yeah.
You got to take all those things into consideration. But not all of it is common sense.
It's not. And the good thing is that when you Google that, right? If you were to Google what's the best caliber rifle for elk hunting,
yeah,
you'll get thousands of answers.
Yeah, you'll get 300 Win Mag, 300,
30-06,
30-06, 308.
The list will go on, and every article will justify to you why they think it's the best.
And they'll be like, hey, don't use 6.5 for elk. Don't use 6.5. Well, I'm like, you know what? Well, I shot an elk with a 6.5 Creedmoor. I've shot a deer with a 6.5 Creedmoor. Like, it's efficient. It's effective.
And there's a lot of articles that say that. There's articles that'll be like, you know what? Sometimes it doesn't even matter what caliber you're shooting. All that matters is the placement of shot.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm a huge advocate behind shot placement.
Absolutely. And the thing is, that goes into more preparedness, right?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of preparedness to get your rifle of whatever caliber you're shooting to get it accurate, right?
Absolutely.
To train with that rifle and get yourself prepared by getting in the range, getting time behind the rifle, squeezing the trigger, and really dialing in the science of where your bullet is impacting at what distances, at what elevations, at what angles, at what degree of slope and all that stuff. You have to train all that.
It's nuts. Like, if I'm a huge proponent on that, because when I did shoot my deer, it was 330 yards, something like that, 338, 333. It was crosswinds of like 5 to 7 miles per hour. It's not something like I had a scope, like this rifle on the back is actually the same rifle which I shot my deer with, an optic that had adjustable turrets, understanding how my optic worked, what I should be dialing in at that range, what I should be holding or dialing for wind.
At what value wind.
And guess what? How did I shoot that deer? I shot it from sitting down cross-legged with my bipod on somebody's back. Because the grass of which I was in was too tall to be laying prone. And I wasn't confident enough to be shooting kneeling supported for that position. And luckily, it was a heart shot, blew off the top of the heart, great entry, great exit.
Right, and that goes to the preparedness, though.
It was a year's worth, literally a whole year's worth of shooting every weekend to be able to perfect that shot.
Absolutely, and that's kind of my point, right?
Yeah.
You have to dig into that science.
Absolutely.
You can't just go grab a rifle out of a box and go expect to put down an animal. You can't just go buy a bow and expect to march in the woods and put down an animal.
No.
It takes a year's worth of experience, practice, and knowing your equipment, knowing what you can do, your limits, once again, knowing your limits and applying them in real world practices.
100%.
And that's awesome, right? Like that's the reward.
Right.
That's the high.
Like,
you got it.
Like, to me, it's like what I want to build on in the future is doing high angle shooting, hiking all my gear up in the mountains, national forest land, and shooting high angle, low angle, shooting at steel targets of between 300 to 800 yards.
I mean, that would be pretty applicable in real world for like bighorn sheep and stuff, right?
Bighorn sheep, elk hunting, mule deer hunting.
Yeah.
It's huge, and people are like, why would you do that? Like, one, it's a blast. It's fun. You go out with some buddies. You go make a camping trip out of it. You go test out all your gear. At the end, you're shooting ammo. You're shooting your gun. Like, that's fun.
Well, dude, I mean, when I went mule deer hunting this last year, the guy I went hunting with, we were at the top of a mountain. I mean, we probably had 11,000 feet. And he found a big buck, mule deer, huge, right? This was a trophy mule deer. It was probably 300 yards away, and it was probably at a 38% decline.
That's nuts,
right? And so he popped out at this little tiny, lower summit of the mountain, in this little clearing of all these trees, and he took a shot at him because that window goes by like that.
Yeah,
right? Seconds, and he saw him. He was tracking him. He had a shot, bang, let off a round, missed. And then he was gone. I was spotting him because I was watching. I think he went over the top of him. I never was able to figure out the actual definitive impact of the bullet, but I didn't see any dirt fly up below his legs, and he didn't flinch as far as, obviously, if he were to be hit by the round. So it was my belief that he shot over the top of him.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is very common when shooting at a down angle, because what people think is like, oh, I still got to hold. You're absolutely right. You got to hold low.
Yeah.
Because you need to understand ballistics of how a round goes through the air, right? And understanding its energy and stuff like that at distance.
Well, right. And like, you have to know that obviously the flight of your bullet how it's going to impact the target at a 38-degree incline as opposed to shooting on level ground.
Right.
Your impact is
night
going
and
to be
day.
different from where your point of aim
yeah.
is.
Most definitely.
Right? And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know that. Or even people that have been doing it for a long time may be rusty at it or may just, brain fart it, not even realize that they're doing it. And they're like, oh,
They're just putting crosshairs on.
yep. They get their shot off and they realize, damn it, I forgot. I didn't realize how much of a decline I was shooting at. And I sailed it over the top.
Just like if you're shooting up high, you got to be aiming up higher
Yeah.
on the animal.
You have to compensate for that elevation change, right?
It's nuts. But yeah, it's what preparedness and training goes in throughout the year to prep yourself for that single moment.
Oh, yeah. The 2 seconds worth of a window you have on a shot.
Yep, 100%. It's nuts.
Yeah. Well,
it's been a joy.
Here's to the future of being able to go on a hunt and get an animal and hopefully educating people on being more prepared and self-reliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for coming on, buddy. I appreciate it. Had a good time.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep.